Why do you feel like you're running in place while the world races ahead? Why does it seem like everyone else has figured it out? Like they've unlocked some secret code to success, happiness, and fulfillment that you haven't been let in on. You scroll through your phone and see someone your age buying their dream home. Another just launched a business. Someone else is traveling the world, working remotely from Bali, smiling beside someone who seems perfect. And there you are, stuck in the same routine, wondering what's wrong with you. Let me tell you something, nothing is wrong with you, but everything changes when you realize that you were never meant to follow someone else's map. You were born to create your own path. And every second you spend comparing yourself to others is another second stolen from the life you could be building right now. You don't need to keep up with anyone. You don't need to mimic someone else's journey. What you need is to stop looking sideways and start looking inward. Because the truth is, when you focus on others, you lose sight of your own power. You give away your energy, your peace, and your purpose to people who don't even know your name. You let their highlight reel dictate how you feel about your behind-the-scenes life. That's not inspiration, that's distraction. And it's costing you more than you realize. Think about this. Every time you check someone else's life, you're feeding your brain the idea that you're not enough, not successful enough, not rich enough, not smart enough, not far enough along. But here's the thing. Those comparisons aren't real. They're illusions built on filters, timing, and carefully curated moments. You're comparing your raw, unedited self to someone else's best frame. That's not fair to you. It's like racing someone who only shows up for the finish line. And yet, we all do it. We fall into this trap because our brains are wired to seek validation. We want to belong, we want to feel like we measure up. But the problem is, when you live by other people's standards, you'll always come up short. Because those standards were never meant for you. They weren't written with your story in mind. They don't take into account where you started, what you survived, or what you're capable of becoming. So why keep chasing someone else's version of success? Why keep trying to fit into a mold that wasn't made for you? Because deep down, you already know the answer. You already feel the pull towards something more, something real. A life where you wake up not dreading the day, but excited for what's next. A life where you're not constantly checking in on others because you're too busy showing up fully for yourself. That kind of life doesn't come from comparison. It comes from commitment to your growth, your goals, and your inner voice. This video isn't just about motivation, it's about transformation. It's about reclaiming your attention, your time, and your potential. By the end of this, you won't just feel inspired, you'll feel ready to shut out the noise, ready to stop wasting energy on things that don't matter, ready to finally put yourself first, not in a selfish way, but in the most powerful way possible. The way that allows you to grow, to heal, to become the person you were meant to be. Because the moment you stop obsessing over where others are going, you finally get to choose your own direction. And that choice, that single shift in mindset, can change everything. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, if you're done comparing yourself to everyone else, if you're ready to finally focus on what truly matters, then stay with me. Because what comes next will change how you see your entire life. You've already taken the first step. You've started to see the trap for what it is. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're simply distracted by things that were never meant to guide you. And now, the real work begins. Because awareness without action is just another form of suffering. You can't afford to know the truth and do nothing with it. Let's talk about distraction. Not the kind that comes from a buzzing phone or a crowded room, but the deeper, more dangerous kind. The kind that steals your focus so slowly you don't even notice until years have passed. That distraction is other people, their lives, their choices, their pace, their version of success. It's everywhere. In the stories you scroll through, the conversations you overhear, the expectations others place on you without even realizing it. Every time you give your attention to someone else's journey, you take it away from your own. Here's the science of it. Your brain was never built to handle this much external input. It's wired to focus deeply, but only when distractions are minimal. Every time you check someone else's life, you interrupt your own progress. Your mind jumps from one idea to another, one goal to another, one version of yourself to another. And in that chaos, clarity disappears, purpose fades, motivation dies. But here's what happens when you stop letting other people's lives pull your attention in 100 different directions. You begin to see your own path again. Not someone else's dream, not someone else's timeline, yours. You start noticing the small wins, the daily habits, the quiet progress that no one else sees, but that changes everything. That's where growth happens. That's where real transformation is born. And yet so many keep chasing the illusion. They watch someone else's life unfold online and think, if only I had that. If only I looked like that. If only I had their job, their confidence, their freedom. But here's the secret they won't tell you. Those people didn't get where they are by watching others. They got there by doing the work while everyone else was watching, while everyone else was comparing, while everyone else was waiting for permission. You weren't put here to live in someone else's shadow. You were made to create your own light. So ask yourself this. If you spent as much time building your own life as you do observing others, where would you be right now? What could you have created? What goals could you have crushed? What version of yourself could you already be becoming? Don't answer too quickly. Let that question sit with you. Let it hurt a little. Because sometimes the deepest motivation comes from recognizing how much time we've wasted pretending we don't have a choice. The truth is, you always have a choice. You can choose to keep living in reaction to other people's lives, or you can finally decide to live on your own terms. You can keep scrolling and wondering why you're not moving forward, or you can close the app, open your notebook, and start writing your next chapter. Because here's the thing about focus. It's not just about what you pay attention to. It's about what you ignore. It's about choosing silence over noise, clarity over confusion, discipline over distraction. It's about making peace with the fact that you will never be ahead of everyone else. And that doesn't matter because you were never supposed to be. You were only ever meant to be ahead of who you were yesterday. And that's where the reward lies. Not in being better than someone else, not in having more, not in proving anything to anyone. The real reward is knowing you gave your best energy to your own life. Knowing you showed up for yourself even when it was hard. Knowing you stopped looking sideways long enough to build something truly yours. So, if you want to break free, really break free, you have to make a decision. You have to draw a line in the sand and say, no more. No more wasting my time on what doesn't serve me. No more giving my power away to people who don't even know my name. No more living someone else's dream while mine collects dust. This is your life, not theirs, yours. And every second you spend focused on yourself is a second invested in the person you're becoming. So stay here, stay present, keep listening. Because what comes next will show you exactly what it means to stop losing yourself and start finding the strength, clarity, and purpose that have been waiting for you all along. You've made the decision. You're no longer willing to waste your energy on distractions, comparisons, or borrowed dreams. That choice alone has already changed something deep inside you, a shift that can't be undone. But here's the truth, choosing to focus on yourself is only the beginning. The real challenge comes when you realize just how much you've been giving away, not just in time or attention, but in your power, your peace, and your potential. Because, let's be honest, living for others doesn't just happen on social media. It happens every time you silence your own voice to meet someone else's expectations. Every time you push aside your goals because you're too busy trying to keep up with someone else's pace. Every time you apologize for who you are instead of standing tall in your uniqueness. And the worst part, you do it so often that you start to believe this version of yourself is all you'll ever be. But what if I told you that the life you truly want, the one filled with purpose, fulfillment, and unstoppable momentum, isn't hidden behind some secret door waiting to be unlocked? What if it was already yours, buried beneath years of misplaced focus, fear of judgment, and the need to prove your worth to people who barely see you? This is where you stop letting other people define your value. This is where you stop shrinking to fit into their world. This is where you finally understand that living for yourself isn't selfish. It's survival, not just survival of your dreams, but survival of your soul. Every moment you spend chasing someone else's approval is another moment stolen from your growth. Every hour you waste worrying about what others think is an hour you'll never get back. And every ounce of energy you give to comparison is energy you're stealing from the person you were meant to become. Think about everything you could have built by now if you had always focused on yourself. Think about the skills you could have mastered, the habits you could have formed, the confidence you could have gained, the life you could have already created. It wasn't lack of ability holding you back, it was lack of direction. And that direction only comes when you stop looking sideways and start walking forward. Because here's the thing about focusing on yourself. It's not about ignoring the world. It's about refusing to let the world dictate your worth. It's about showing up fully for your own life, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel ready, even when everyone around you seems to be moving faster, because speed doesn't matter, direction does. And as long as you're moving toward your own vision, you're winning. But make no mistake, this kind of focus takes courage, real courage. The kind that makes you say no when everyone expects you to say yes. The kind that lets you walk away from conversations, relationships, and environments that drain you. The kind that allows you to sit in silence with yourself and ask the hard questions without flinching. Who are you when no one is watching? What do you truly want? And what are you willing to sacrifice to get it? These aren't easy questions, but they're necessary. Because until you answer them honestly, you'll always be living someone else's story. And that's not why you were born. You were born to create, to grow, to rise. You were born to build something meaningful, not just for the world, but for yourself. And no amount of external validation will ever replace the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you gave your best self to your own life. So if you're serious about change, if you're done wasting your time and energy on things that don't serve you, then hold on to that feeling. Let it fuel you. Let it remind you that you're not here to live a life shaped by other people's opinions. You're here to write your own story. One chapter at a time. One decision at a time. One moment of focus at a time. And when the noise gets loud, and it will, remember this. You are enough. You always have been. You just forgot to look inward long enough to see it. Stay with me. Keep listening. Because what comes next will show you exactly how to reclaim your power and use it to build the life you've always wanted. You've already begun to reclaim your power. You're no longer feeding the distraction. You're no longer giving your energy away to people who don't even know how hard you're fighting to build something real. And that shift, that quiet internal rebellion against comparison and borrowed dreams is changing everything. But here's what most people never tell you. Letting go of others isn't enough. It's not just about stopping the scroll or silencing the noise. It's about replacing that empty space with something stronger, something deeper, something that pulls you forward not because you're running from distraction, but because you're chasing purpose. Because when you finally stop looking sideways, you have to learn how to look inward. And that's where the real transformation begins. Your focus is not just a habit. It's not just something you do when you feel motivated. It's the fuel that turns intention into action and action into results. It's the difference between dreaming and doing, between wanting and winning, between wishing for change and becoming the person who makes it happen. And the truth is, inner focus doesn't come naturally to most people because we've been trained to seek validation outside ourselves. We've spent years waiting for permission, approval, or some magical moment of confidence before we start building the life we want. But here's the secret. That moment will never come if you keep waiting for it. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you earn through action, through discipline, through daily choices that prove to yourself that you are capable, committed, and in control. So how do you build that kind of unshakable focus? It starts with clarity, not vague ideas or distant goals, but clear, non-negotiable reasons why you're doing what you're doing, why this journey matters, why it has to be you, why it has to be now. Because without that clarity, your motivation fades the moment things get hard, and they will get hard. Growth always does. Then comes consistency. Not perfect effort, not endless hours of hustle, just showing up again and again, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Because consistency is what builds momentum. Momentum is what creates progress. And progress, even slow, invisible progress, is what keeps you moving forward when everything else tries to pull you back. And finally, there's belief. Not the kind that comes from external success, but the kind that comes from proving to yourself day after day that you show up, that you follow through, that you do what you say you're going to do. That kind of belief doesn't come from words or affirmations. It comes from action, from small wins, from choosing yourself over and over until it becomes second nature. That's what inner focus really is. It's not ignoring the world. It's refusing to let the world decide your worth. It's not rejecting others. It's embracing yourself enough to know that your time, your energy, and your potential belong to you alone. It's not about isolation. It's about intention, about choosing what deserves your attention and cutting out everything that doesn't. And when you operate from that place, when you lead with clarity, consistency, and belief, something shifts. You stop needing other people's approval. You stop measuring your value by someone else's standards. You stop wasting time trying to impress people who barely notice you anyway. Because now, you're too busy becoming the person you were meant to be. You're building something real, something lasting, something that no amount of comparison can ever take away. So ask yourself, what would happen if you gave your full attention to your own growth? What would change if you stopped worrying about where others are and focused entirely on where you're going? What kind of life could you create if every ounce of your energy was invested in your own vision? The answer lies in the next step, the next decision, the next moment where you choose yourself, not once, but every single day. And as long as you keep making that choice, nothing can stop you. Because now you're not just surviving, you're thriving. Not because everything is easy, but because you've decided that your focus, your purpose, and your future are worth fighting for. So keep going, keep listening. Because what comes next will show you exactly how to turn this mindset into unstoppable action and how to build the kind of life that no one can distract you from. You're already different than you were when this began. You can feel it, that quiet shift inside, the one that tells you something has changed, not because of a grand moment or a dramatic breakthrough, but because you've started to see yourself clearly for the first time in a long while. And with that clarity comes power, the kind of power that doesn't come from approval, validation, or even success, but from knowing exactly who you are and what you want. That's where true strength lives, not in how much you achieve, but in how deeply you commit to your own growth. Not in how many people follow you, but in how fully you follow your own path. Not in how fast you move, but in how determined you are to keep moving, no matter what. And now it's time to take what you've built so far, that focus, that belief, that fire, and turn it into action. Because ideas without action are just dreams. And you didn't come this far to dream, you came here to do. So let's talk about what it really takes to redirect your energy. Not just for today, not just for inspiration, but for real, lasting change. Because the truth is, you've spent years caught up in distractions. Years looking outside yourself for answers that were always within. And now, you have a choice, keep falling back into the same cycle, or finally break free and build something unshakable. Let's make sure you choose the latter. The first step, let go of jealousy. Not just the obvious kind, the one that makes your stomach twist when someone gets what you want, but the quiet kind too. The kind that whispers in your ear and says they have it easier, or they got lucky. That voice isn't protecting you, it's holding you back. Jealousy is not a weakness, it's a signal, a sign that you want more. So instead of letting it drag you down, use it as fuel. Use it to remind yourself what you truly desire. Then get to work building it for yourself. Next, stop measuring your beginning against someone else's middle. No one starts at the top. No one builds an empire on their first try. Every person you admire once stood where you are now, unsure, afraid, overwhelmed. But they kept going, they kept learning, they kept showing up until they became the version of themselves that you now look up to. And you're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be, right here, right now, with everything, you need to begin again. Now, take action, even if you don't feel ready, especially if you don't feel ready, because waiting for perfect is just another way of avoiding fear. And fear will always show up when you're about to do something that matters. Don't wait for motivation to strike. Don't wait for the stars to align. Don't wait for someone to tell you it's okay. Start now. Start small. Just start. Action builds momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence builds unstoppable force. And finally, create rituals around your focus. Not vague intentions or wishful thinking, but real, repeatable habits that pull you back to yourself every single day. Write down your goals. Track your progress. Celebrate your wins, even the tiny ones. Surround yourself with reminders of why you began this journey. Build routines that protect your energy and guard your purpose. Because discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about making choices that add up over time. And those choices are what separate the people who dream from the people who do. You deserve to live a life that feels meaningful. Not because of what you own or how many followers you have or how many people approve of your choices, but because you gave your best self to your own growth. Because you stopped wasting your time on things that didn't serve you. Because you chose to invest in your future, even when it was hard. This is your moment, not tomorrow, not after everyone else has moved forward. Now, right here, while the doubt is still fresh, while the fear is still loud, while the distraction is still tempting, because that's when courage means something. That's when choosing yourself becomes powerful. Because you don't need permission to start. You don't need approval to grow. You don't need anyone else's blessing to become the person you were meant to be. All you need is the decision and the action that follows. So take a deep breath. Remind yourself who you are, what you want, why it matters. Then move. Keep moving. Don't stop. You've already done the hardest part. You've chosen yourself. Not in a moment of convenience, not when everything felt perfect, but right in the middle of doubt, distraction, and fear. That choice alone has shifted something deep inside you. You're no longer waiting for permission, no longer looking to others to define your worth, no longer wasting energy trying to fit into someone else's version of success. And now, it's time to see what happens when you stop pretending that greatness is for other people and start believing that it's for you too. Because here's the truth. The people you admire, the ones who seem to have it all figured out, didn't start with more talent, more luck, or more resources than you. They started with focus. They started with discipline. They started with the decision to keep going even when they wanted to quit. And most importantly, they stayed focused long enough to turn small, consistent actions into massive results. That's the secret no one talks about. Success isn't built in a single moment of inspiration. It's built in the quiet hours when no one is watching. In the early mornings when everyone else is still asleep. In the late nights when you push through exhaustion because you know what you're building matters. In the moments when you choose again and again to show up for yourself, even when the world tries to pull you back. So ask yourself this: are you willing to do what it takes? Not just today, not just when motivation hits, but every single day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because real growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. It happens in the space between effort and resistance, in the place where most people give up and you decide to keep going. Think about what that kind of commitment could create in your life. Think about how much closer you'd be to your goals if you showed up for yourself like your future depended on it. Because it does. Every habit you build, every skill you develop, every decision you make in alignment with your vision, they all add up. They compound. They create momentum. And that momentum becomes unstoppable. Because the mindset of champions isn't built overnight. It's built in the choices you make when nobody's watching. When you choose to work instead of scroll. To train instead of rest. To believe in yourself even when the results aren't visible yet. Champions don't win because they're better than everyone else. They win because they refuse to let distractions derail them. They stay focused while others get lost in noise. They keep moving forward while others hesitate. They commit fully while others hold back. and you can too. But here's the thing. It's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about showing up even when you don't feel like it. It's about doing the work even when you're tired, even when you're uncertain, even when progress feels slow. Because consistency beats intensity every single time. You don't need to burn out trying to change your life in one dramatic moment. You just need to keep making the right choices, one after another, after another. That's how legends are made. Not by accident, not by luck, but by choice, by daily decisions that add up to something extraordinary, something unforgettable, something that proves to yourself and to the world that you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. So close the apps that steal your time. Walk away from the conversations that drain your energy. Let go of the expectations that don't serve you. Stop chasing validation and start building value. Start creating, producing, growing. Start investing in your own potential instead of worrying about what someone else is doing. Because this is your life, this is your time, this is your moment. And the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the decision to take the next step. Then the one after that, then the one after that. Until one day you look back and realize that you've become exactly who you set out to be. So don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't wait for certainty. Don't wait for someone else's approval. Take action now. Stay focused always. Build something real. Because you were never meant to live in the shadows of others. You were born to shine. And now nothing can stop you. You've come too far to turn back now. You've already made the hardest choice. The one to stop wasting your energy on distractions, comparisons, and borrowed dreams. You've chosen yourself. Not once, but repeatedly. And with every step forward, you've proven that you're not just chasing motivation. You're building something real. Something lasting, something no one can take from you. Now is the time to make it permanent. Because here's the truth. Change doesn't happen in a single moment of inspiration. It happens in the choices you make after the inspiration fades, when the excitement wears off, when the noise tries to pull you back, when the world tells you to settle for less than what you deserve. That's when your commitment must be unshakable. That's when your focus must stay locked in. That's when you decide, once and for all, that you are not going back to who you used to be. This is your turning point, the moment where everything shifts from intention to action, from dream to direction, from hope to habit. Imagine waking up tomorrow and not feeling the need to check anyone else's life. Imagine scrolling through your phone without envy, without distraction, without the urge to measure yourself against someone else's highlight reel. Imagine looking at your own journey and feeling proud, not because you've arrived, but because you're moving forward with purpose, because you know exactly where you're going, because you trust yourself enough to keep going. That kind of freedom doesn't come from external success. It comes from internal clarity, from knowing what matters most and refusing to let anything distract you from it, from making peace with the fact that you will never be ahead of everyone else and realizing that it doesn't matter. Because you were never meant to be. You were only ever meant to be ahead of who you were yesterday. And right now, you are stronger than you were yesterday. More focused, more determined, more aware of what truly matters. You have already begun the transformation, not in front of an audience, not for likes or validation, but in the quiet moments when you chose yourself over everything else. So don't stop now. Don't let old habits creep back in. Don't let fear disguise itself as doubt. Don't let distraction steal your momentum. This is the moment where most people give up, not because they lack ability, but because they lose focus. They forget why they started. They get caught up in the noise again. They begin comparing themselves once more, and slowly their fire fades. But not yours, because you've already seen the cost of living for others. You've already felt the weight of wasted time. You've already realized what's at stake. And now, nothing can convince you to go back. Nothing can trick you into giving away your power again. So close the apps, cancel the noise, delete the expectations that don't serve you, Let go of the need to impress people who barely notice you. Let go of the need to explain your choices. Let go of the belief that you have to prove yourself to anyone, because your life is not about proving, it's about becoming. Becoming the person you were always meant to be, the person who shows up, who follows through, who builds something real. This is your life. No one else is living it. So why would you spend another second letting someone else dictate its direction? Commit fully, commit deeply, commit now, decide what kind of life you want, and then build it. One choice at a time, one day at a time, one moment of focus at a time. Because this is your time, your chance to create something meaningful, something powerful, something unforgettable. You were never meant to live someone else's dream. You were born to write your own. And now you finally understand what that means. It means choosing yourself even when it's hard. It means staying focused even when the world tries to pull you back. It means showing up even when no one is watching. Because greatness doesn't come from applause. It comes from consistency, from courage, from commitment. So take a deep breath. Remind yourself who you are, what you want, why it matters. Then move. Keep moving. Don't stop. You've already crossed the line. You've made the choice that changes everything. To stop wasting your energy on distractions, comparisons, and borrowed dreams. You're not looking sideways anymore. You're not measuring yourself against someone else's journey. You're not waiting for permission or validation or the perfect moment. You're finally moving forward, not because it's easy, but because you know what's at stake. And now it's time to make that momentum unstoppable. Because here's the truth, motivation fades. Inspiration comes and goes. But commitment, real unshakable commitment, is what builds a life of meaning. It's what keeps you going when the excitement wears off, when the results aren't instant, when the world tries to pull you back into distraction and doubt. So ask yourself, are you committed? Not just today, not just while you feel inspired, but every single day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because that's when your focus becomes unbreakable. That's when your choices become powerful. That's when you start building something that no amount of noise can ever take away. This is your moment to decide once and for all that you are not going back to who you used to be. You are not going back to wasting your time scrolling through lives that don't belong to you. You are not going back to letting other people's success dictate how you feel about your own progress. You are not going back to living in reaction to the world around you. You are choosing to live on your own terms, to build your own path, to follow your own vision, to show up fully for your own life. And that kind of decision doesn't just change your day, it changes your destiny. Think about the person you could become if you never stopped showing up for yourself, if you kept making the right choices, even when they were difficult. If you kept investing in your growth, even when the results weren't visible yet. If you kept focusing on your own journey, even when the world tried to distract you. That person is not some distant version of yourself. That person is already forming with every step you take, with every habit you build, with every moment you choose yourself. Because here's the thing, greatness isn't given. It's earned through discipline, through resilience, through relentless self-belief, through daily decisions that prove to yourself that you are capable, committed, and in control. And you are more than capable, more than ready, more than enough. So close the apps that steal your time, walk away from the conversations that drain your energy, let go of the need for approval, stop waiting for perfect conditions, stop hesitating, stop doubting, stop giving your power away to people who barely notice you anyway. Because this is your life, your time, your future, and no one else is responsible for it but you. So take full ownership. Make the hard choices. Do the work. Put in the effort. Show up for yourself like your future depends on it. Because it does. Every action you take adds up. Every habit compounds. Every moment of focus creates unstoppable momentum. And one day, sooner than you think, you'll look back and realize that you've become exactly who you set out to be. Stronger, clearer, more focused, more determined. more aligned with your purpose than ever before. Because you didn't wait for inspiration. You didn't chase validation. You didn't let comparison hold you back. You simply chose again and again to focus on yourself, to believe in yourself, to keep moving forward. And that choice, more than talent, more than luck, more than circumstance, is what changed everything. So don't stop now, don't hesitate, don't lose focus, because you were never meant to blend in. You were born to stand out, to lead, to grow, to become. And now, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop you.